Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name's Landy Martin. I am super excited today to be interviewing the world-renowned Dr. Anthony Kleinsmith, aka father of Colostrum. Dr. K is the president and founder of Innovate Inc. He holds a PhD in nutritional science, among other accolades. He has been featured on television, radio, written articles for magazines. He's been an in-demand public speaker. So what a privilege to have him here with us today. And he's also been formulating, you guys, since the 1980s. So he knows his stuff. He focuses on anti-aging, immune health, gut health, which is so important, as well as weight loss. So without further ado, welcome, Dr. K.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I hope you're having a good day today. So I have some questions for you that I ask around. I just asked around. I got some questions. So if you're ready, I'm gonna start with my first one.
Have it on.
All right,
Great.
perfect. Okay. So now there has been a lot of chatter, and really, we've been throughout, how many years now being told that saturated fat is bad, potentially causing high cholesterol, all of this stuff. So I know a lot of it has recently been debunked, but can you expound a little bit on the concern that there's too much saturated fat in colostrum?
Oh my goodness. No, the fat that's in colostrum is actually quite good for you, right? Think about it from a baby to mother scenario. Okay, you're giving breast milk, if you will, or that first milk, colostrum, to a baby to jumpstart literally 40 different processes. Okay, not just for the newborn though, but for people that are in their 30s, their 40s, 50s, and beyond, right? Well, when you look at the fat that's in colostrum, you will actually see different studies that show with taking the fat from it, your cholesterol levels start to drop because the bad goes down, the good goes up, right? And when you're looking at it from a perspective of, is this fat, if you will, within the fat are where you find a lot of your immune factors, your natural growth factors, all of the different components that not only feed that little brand new newborn, but there's a lot of studies out there that show that fat carries with it a lot of those different factors that help us get back into a healthy state, right? And to be blunt, who doesn't want that at whatever age you are, right? I just turned 60, and I'm just, yeah, I got some gray in my hair, right? But I'm out. I do stuff like crazy. I just had an H scan about 5 years ago. An H scan tells you what your biological age is versus your chronological age, right? And at 55, I was like, well, this could be interesting. Let's see what my age is. Now I'm a heavy user of colostrum. Always have been from the moment that I kind of came out with it. My chronological age was 55 at that point. My biological age was 38.
Wow.
Big difference, right? Well, I don't care what age I'm going to grow into, right? As long as I can do it with youthfulness, as long as I can get out there and be active, both physically and mentally. Well, that fat that's in colostrum brings those different building blocks that as we age, that's part of it. But a lot of it is our environmental factors, our genetics play a part in that, that we actually accelerate aging. Well, who doesn't want to stop that and slow it down, right? And do it with the women on my side live forever. I mean, my mama, I danced with her at my wedding. She died at 108. Okay, my granny died at 100 years old, right? That's what. But they were both as sharp as tacks, right? Getting out there and doing things. That's what I want for myself. But that's not just for me. It's for anybody that wants to get benefits from a whole food colostrum, not a fractionated.
Love it, love it. I love how you explain too. It's like having columns, and fat is actually one of those nutrients that helps support everything that's in that colostrum and helps us.
Oh, very much so. And there's more and more research coming out, right? A lot of our hormones are based around cholesterol, right? And if we take all these different medicines and everything else that they want to bring that down, well, that's where you're starting to see a lot of folks, not just where was Alzheimer's 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It wasn't there, right? Today it's very prevalent. And if you look at folks that when they go in and they get tested, their cholesterols have been artificially manipulated. Well, there's both good and there's bad, right? What they're finding now in research is saying, listen, cholesterol in an overall sense has so many profound impacts, all good, right? Very different than what we're told by the FDA and even the AMA, and even sections within the AMA say, oh no, it's bad, but there's a section over here that says, no, it's actually very good, right? I get to work with a lot of research medical physicians out there, very different than a practitioner, right? Where they're fed from the FDA side of things saying, hey, this is good or this is bad, here's a drug, give it out. Where the research medical side says, no, we actually look at what are the causalities, and no, cholesterol is actually a very good thing. And in some countries overseas, they look at 350 in your cholesterol level as a good thing, right? It's here that they don't. So no, the fat's very, very good for you.
Yeah, I mean, cholesterol, basic building block of the human body. So, okay, you ready to move on to the next question?
Bring it on.
This one I think will be easy for you. I think there was just a bit of confusing on the dosing for the pets.
Right.
I don't know why or whatever. Can you kind of talk on that for a sec?
Well, I have a 140-pound black German Shepherd, and I have a 20-pound Cocker Spaniel. Okay. If I let them, they'll eat a 2-pound bag at a setting. Okay. Now, here's what's interesting about animals. They have this innate ability to kind of say, hey, this is good for me, and this is not, right? So years ago, I had folks that came up to me and said, listen, I want to feed it to my dog. How much should I give them? And we came up with this, we'll give them a gram per 10 pounds of body weight, right? But if you give a dog colostrum and they delve into this, you will find they suffer just like we do from all kinds of maladies, right? Skin issues, bone issues, mental issues, right? Arthritis, all kinds of stuff. Well, again, their building blocks, although much faster used up, can also be replenished. It's like putting in high octane. I was told, because my dog is so big, right? They said his lifespan probably will be around 10 years. And I looked at that and said, it'll be interesting because I had a black lab that was actually bigger than Bane, and he lived until he was 17 years old, right? But he got colostrum every single day. And with him, he literally ate me out of house and home with colostrum. So yeah, people say, hey, what's a basic dose? But can you give too much? No. They'll eat what they want and they'll leave the rest, right? But they'll come back. And if you really want to try something, give them some colostrum, get them hooked on it, and then put the dog food, but put the colostrum underneath and watch what they do, right? They'll nuzzle the dog food out of the way to get to the good stuff.
Love it. Yes. My dog, Bucky, he loves it. And his coat is so shiny after taking it and everything. So, all right. Thank you for speaking to that. So guys, you can't have too much colostrum for the doggies. Okay. The next question is, can you talk about grass-fed winners? What all are the cattle given and why is our way better?
You need to have the cows being fed in two ways. Okay? One way is grass-fed. Get them out in the field, let them get exposed to the different bugs and different things that are out there, right? A lot of people don't realize anthrax is a naturally occurring event in open fields. But if a cow is out there eating and grazing, do you see them dropping over from it? No. Why? Because they will build multiple antibodies, right? The beautiful thing about that is they pass it to us, not through their milk, but through their colostrum, right? But they also get bit by this little tick that's sitting out there with this nasty little disease on it. And guess what? They build an antibody for it, okay? But today's fields may not have the same nutritional value as they once did. Overpopulation, overeating, a lot of farms, a lot of chemicals and things being sprayed on it. They just don't have the nutrition. So that's why you also want them line fed. Now, line fed, you can maintain their nutritional daily dosing, so to speak, right? Years ago, when I started into colostrum, one of the things that we came up with was a lick block. Now, if you go to a regular farm, they would put salt blocks out there, and the cows would lick it to death, and they'd put another one out. Well, when we came out with what we were doing back then, this is 1991. Actually, it's even earlier than that, but we came up with a lick block that still tasted salty, but it was vitamins, minerals, enzymes, amino acids. And what we found is, just like you and I, if we supplement our bodies with things that have been depleted, what do? We blossom. Well, so does a cow, right? So as long as you can get them fed in the pasture, they pass on all the goodies to us, right? And they build antibodies, and you also get the benefit of that. Line feeding, then you can hold them to a nutrition. You can make sure that they're getting grass fed, hay, sorghum, a host of other things that actually build them up. One of the other things that we can do, you and I, our bowels are not closed off, so we get the benefit of the full range of 700 different components in colostrum, right? Both growth factors, whole food form, and immune factors and vitamins, minerals, protease inhibitors, all these goodies that are there. But a baby calf doesn't. They have to get at least 2 quarts, right? If they don't, and we've done enough research around the world on this one, if they don't, there's an 85% sickness or mortality rate. So we ensure, matter of fact, we were written up in the Healthy Living magazine on how well we take care of the calves, right? Thank you. And we ensure that they get those 2 quarts, and then we take the remainder. Now, the beautiful thing about that is when you're looking at how much is in that substance, right? There isn't anybody, whether it be a newborn baby, right, who they have 2 systems that may take years to actually come online, right? One is your gut, one is respiratory, versus somebody, I don't know how old you are, but let's say that you're in your mid-40s, right? You have certain things. They literally say aging speeds up mid-40s and it's 60. Okay. And it's an absolute. It's not a matter of, well, maybe that person will or maybe that person won't. It's because our bodies are depleted, right? Well, that's where colostrum comes in. And making sure that that cow gets all that nutrition, right? Even to the point where you'll feed the cow pellets of colostrum. Why? You're going to get benefit from the growth factor side, right? Their clinics has sealed off, but they will get benefit from the immune factors found in colostrum, where we get the full plethora of benefits, right? So you want both, right? One you can control, one you can absolutely make sure that they get the right nutrition and are healthy, and one you want them out there because that exposure creates benefits, right, in antibodies that they give to us.
Love that. Love that answer. And that was actually part of another question. So I'm glad you spoke to the way the baby's calves, we have to make sure they get enough. Otherwise, there would be no cattle industry. So many people don't understand this. Like if those baby calves don't get that colostrum, they may not survive. A very large percentage of them would not even survive. So love that you spoke on that. The next question I have is, can colostrum help when you already have a cavity? I know it can help with prevention. I think we've got some info in our back office on that, but what about current cavities? And while you're talking about this, I know you mentioned at the corporate event about how we could pack it in our gums or in our in between our gums. I don't know if that's for cavities or just the benefits of the receptor sites or what. Anyway, I'm going to let you take over from there. So.
There's multiple benefits of why you pack it in the lining of your gum, right? Some people just brush too much and the gums start to recede and you actually can see the roots, right? The nice thing about it is those natural growth factors, they're in the whole food form. So packing it in and letting it absorb there, you're going to see accelerated benefits in tissue, right? Part of what the growth factors do is to give you an optimal, homeostatic, if you will, base for health, wellness. We don't want you overactive. We don't want you underactive. We want you just nice and balanced, right? And that's what colostrum does, is it tries to put you into that balanced state. Now, by packing in the lining of the gum, I always talk to people about that, like if you've damaged yourself, right? And I usually tell the story about children. If they break an arm or something, or if they get cut where they have to go get stitches, outside of the crying and outside of the fixing, what do you see the vast majority of them do? They have a tendency to curl up in a fetal position and go to sleep. Why? Because their bodies, their brain literally says, shut down. We need to release these natural growth factors that are going out there and doing regeneration, right? Well, as we get older, we peak when we're 20, right? That's the top you're ever going to be. By the time you're 30, that's 10 short years later, whatever your peak was, cut it in half.
Wow.
And every 10 years, take a good portion of that out so that if you can see between my thumb and my forefinger, by the time you're 55, 60, that's how much you're producing. You still have the same receptor sites, right? So what do? How do we get those natural growth factors in at an accelerated rate? Well, when we're asleep is when we do most of our healing, not when we're awake. And when we're awake, it's more of the immune functionality, right? But when we're sleeping, our receptor sites open up wide and they're waiting for this fuel to be injected into the engine, right? But as we get older, we don't do that as much as anymore. Introduce colostrum at 2,000 nanograms per gram. That's 2 capsules, right? You're getting enough of that high octane fuel that by putting it in while you're sleeping, brush your teeth, get ready for bed, do all the things you normally do, pack it in, go to sleep. Not underneath your tongue, not in the front, but on the sides, right? Because you have all these receptor sites. Well, those receptor sites open up while you're sleeping, and you absorb that high octane fuel, and you see accelerated benefits, right? All those natural growth factors are now being dumped into that engine, and your engine wakes up going, hey, wow, I feel younger. I look younger, right? And when you're talking about cavities, now we can't talk about specific issues, but what we can say is this: the different factors that are in colostrum, antibodies and other things, they go out and they look for invaders, right? And that's what a cavity is you've opened up a crevice, if you will, and you have different bacteria that's starting to eat away. Well, introduce your defenders, right? Put that in. I tell folks all the time, pack it in. Yeah, you're going to go to the dentist, but pack it in and see what happens. And what they usually come back to me is saying, oh, I don't feel anything. It doesn't hurt. What's going on? Well, again, if we take and put back into a depleted body those building blocks, right, 700 plus building blocks into a depleted body, your body is going to respond.
Brilliant. Love it. I love how the receptor sites are still there. We're just not producing anymore. So, that's where the supplementation comes in. Love that. Okay. Next, can you talk for a second about IGF and the cancer concern? I know there's just a lot of misinformation out there. So say what you can get away with saying here on that topic, if you will.
My background isn't just colostrum. I started out my career with health as the research and marketing director for an anti-aging clinic, dealing specifically with HGH, the synthetic form, right? Matter of fact, that's how I got back into colostrum. Was a very large TV personality said, hey, listen, I'm on your therapy, write a book and I'll bring you on my show and we'll explode you. Well, I got commissioned to write the book. Well, whenever I've done a book, I like to do a little history of where we've been, where we're at, where we're going. Well, the history of HGH, which is a multi-billion-dollar anti-aging industry, okay, comes from IGF-1 and growth hormone combined. And it was literally isolated from colostrum, synthesized using DNA recombinant technology, and voila, we have this multi-billion-dollar industry. Well, there was research that was done at the medical schools at Harvard. And what they showed was IGF-1 is a really great catalyst. It doesn't cause it per se, but what it does is you can look at and say, you have something that you have a propensity towards cancer, right? Now, I'm talking about the isolated version. The non-isolated version, there's no documentation that says a whole food form does nothing but good. And think about it this way: there are ways that you can artificially raise your IGF-1 levels, okay? One is by being an athlete, okay? The more you work out, the higher your levels are going to be. If all of the mumbo jumbo and chatter out on the marketplace says, geez, by raising your levels, you're going to have cancer, why don't we have every professional athlete dying from cancer? Because their vitamin C levels are like through the roof, right? They are at the point where they were once at 20, right? Not artificially doing it, but just by working out. Well, if the logic held true, every single professional athlete that's out there, and they all, you can actually test this, all of them have raised their IGF-1 levels, right? They'd all be dying from cancer, and they're not, right? Because they're doing it in a whole food form, even if it's through their own body, through working out, right? So IGF-1, insulin like growth factor 1, it's naturally occurring, but we don't isolate it, right? We leave it in the whole food form, the 89, and then there may be as many as 200 to 300 supporting columns that keep it stable, right? There's a lot of folks out there that they've ripped different things out of colostrum and said, see, this is still colostrum. Not true. It's fractionated, right? That's one of the things that we really throughout the years we've won the People's Choice Award, the Reader's Choice Award, the Price Westinghouse. We have 3 letters from Cornell on Cornell letterhead stating we actually met the 6-hour qualification, and all others lost out, right? And they certified us as 6-hour colostrum, and that's important because when you look at how colostrum is produced, okay, it's very different than a human mother. Human mothers will produce both milk and colostrum in the same area, the mammary gland, right? But before we ever see the light of day, we have what's called passive transfer. Mom has given us through the placenta a bunch of goodies. Keep us out of the weather, feed us, clothe us. We're pretty well functional, right? But a baby calf doesn't get that passive transfer at all. That's why that 2 quarts is so imperative to get them jump started, right? Well, when you look at it in that fashion, a human produces it in one area, but a bovine doesn't. They produce milk in the mammary gland, right? That's lactogenesis, but they don't produce colostrum there. They actually produce colostrum 4 to 6 weeks prior to birth, once only, right? Upon the birthing, the substance leaves the body, drops into the mammary gland, and if it's not suckled out or stripped out so that it can be bottle fed, she literally absorbs it for her own benefit. Why? Because it's anywhere from 100 to 1,000 times more potent than what any human mother can produce. Why? Because it jumpstarts that baby calf, right? Well, we get the benefits of all that because we now know through years of research, it jumpstarts 40 processes in that newborn baby. I'm talking about a human baby, right? But we also know that it has an impact on cholesterol later in life. It has an impact on muscle tissue later in life. It has an impact on cognitive function later in life. So the substance that you got 60 years ago, in my case, right, jumpstarts not only that then, but it helps me throughout the time frame that I'm still around. What better food can you get?
And we are so blessed. That's all I can say. We are so blessed to have you with all your knowledge and just to have this colostrum, right? This liquid, well, not liquid, powdered gold is what it is now. So while we're talking about hormones, can you touch on menopause or any research or anything out there and whether or not colostrum is going to help you getting through that or what goes on with that?
Well, think about it in this fashion, right? As when we get older, their hormones start to drop, right? And that's across the board. That's not just what most women go, oh, it's estrogen. No, it's testosterone, it's serotonin. There's a host of different formats that start to go down, right? Well, colostrum brings in a whole food state those different factors that keep you in that balanced state. So we've had a whole lot of women out there who they started going through menopause, they get on colostrum, and what they find is that it elongates their own production. So they actually go, well, I don't get as many hot flashes, right? I sleep better, especially at night. right? I'm not waking up just drenched with my, matted hair because you're sweating. And it's because of, again, you're not filling up the tank like you were when you were 20, but if they fill up enough of that tank to where it takes the edge off, right? Now life isn't as aggressive, right? In some cases, sweaty in other cases, brain fog in other cases, all these different things that women go through during menopause, right? It sort of balances those things out as well.
Absolutely. And I will say, we have some women that are going through perimenopause and stuff that some of them haven't had a period in a year or 18 months and got on the colostrum, and we're having all kinds of trouble too. Hot flashes. I mean, just can't sleep, all the stuff you're talking about, right?
Yep.
On the colostrum now, and period came back. They're regular now. They're sleeping through the night. I mean, I am just mind blown. We have a team of people that are just mind blown by the benefits. So thanks for talking about that for a sec. Okay. What can people expect when they first start on colostrum? Detox, benefits, like what can you expect and how soon when you're first starting?
That is interesting. When I wrote my very first book and published it in 1998. Okay. And there was this one little section in there that medical doctors used to prescribe colostrum for rheumatoid arthritis. That was before even the invention of the sulfa drugs, right? And people would call me and say, doctor, well, at that point it wasn't a doctor, K, I was working on it, but I want to take your product because I read this. And I would tell them, don't count on it. Right. And they would be like, wait a minute, it's right here. It's in black and white. I said, oh, it is. And historically, it's absolutely true. But colostrum works on all systems simultaneously, right? It doesn't focus like a drug will focus on one thing, right? It's very laser. If you talk about seismic, it's very laser. If you talk about Limousin, it's very laser. If you talk about GB6, it's very laser, right? But colostrum, in a general sense, is more of a shotgun approach. We're going to throw everything at that depleted well that we call our bodies, right? And it's going to stick in places where you go, well, I didn't even think I needed it there, but wow, my hair is better, my skin is better, I'm sleeping better, I have better focus. All these other things, right? Back in 2000, I didn't know about the leptin IGF-1 insulin connection, the triangle. And I had people calling me saying, I'm taking your colostrum and I'm losing weight, right? So when you're looking at it in that fashion, it's taking a body that needs those building blocks. We want those building blocks. We're not getting those building blocks. Definitely not getting them from the nutrition values that we get out there today, right? And now we're putting that high octane back into your body, right? Once you start doing that, all of these different things start to click, right? And I get people all the time that say, well, I want it for X, but I got 15 benefits before I even got to the X. Now, there may be some instances, right? If you do a hard workout, your joints hurt. You might find that you start on colostrum, well, your joints are like gold, right? The very next day, we were going, well, I used to have issues for a couple of days after a hard workout. Now, boy, they're ready to go, right? I had Reverend Ron Williams was an all natural bodybuilder. He retired when he was 40, came to me when he was 46, and I built a formula for him. It's actually Flex, but he also started on the colostrum, right? And he was like, Dr. K, I don't understand what's going on. I got bigger during my cut phase. My recovery, it was non-existent. I could work out hard on one muscle group, the bicep, and I could go back to it the very next day. What's going on? And so that's the growth factors being put back into your depleted body, and all of a sudden your body's just clicking, right? It's a well-run machine at this point. He went on to win, because I actually tried to talk him out of it, but at 47, he went on to win Mr. Natural Universe. And he was like, I've never seen, I got in my cut phase, I got bigger, I got stronger, right? Well, think about doing that for him. He's at the top level, right? World class. Well, if he's getting a 15% overall improvement at world class, what are we going to get?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, amazing. I worked out yesterday at the gym too, and I am not as sore as I would have expected to be. So, and my sister has RA and swears by colostrum for that. This colostrum 6. So, okay, I'm getting that warning about the time about to be over. So, real quick, if you could take a minute or two on each of these. Do we have any updates or info on the weight loss study?
We have everything in-house now that we are putting together. We are gonna, just to give you kind of an overview, we're gonna be looking for 300 people. They gotta have a BMI over 30, right? They have to have a scale that measures all of those different factors. 10-point measurement system for men, a 14-point measurement system for women. We're putting that together. What we're trying to do, Landy, is give you something that you can do for life, right? When you say diet to somebody, pretty much everybody out the door and they're running away from you screaming, right? Nobody wants to do that. But if we can give you something that jumpstarts your benefit of a slimmer, trimmer you, and something where you can say, I can do this, right? I always find it interesting that I ask people all the time, I do these little tiny surveys, and I ask people all the time, I said, do you do intermittent fasting? It's, oh gosh. I said, okay, well, do you breakfast? Not really. I have a cup of coffee. Okay. When's your first meal? Oh, well, I maybe hit lunch every now and again, but usually it's the dinner time. I said, that's called intermittent fasting, right? And they go, oh, really? I didn't know that. I didn't see it that way. Well, I'm not saying that. Give them something that cleans out the liver, right? We all have some sort of fatty liver issue going on. Well, if we can clean that out, your metabolism is going to work better, right? Give you something that puts you in control of your taste buds, but helps your metabolism. And now put your body at night into a realm where you're not peaking, you're not in a valley, but you have this nice homeostasis where your body's burning fat as an energy source. Well, if we can put those things together for you, which I think that we have, we're going to be out there asking for 300 people. They got to have a 30 over plus 30 BMI, right? Because I think we're going to change some lives out there.
Well, everybody's excited about it. So are you gathering those people now, or you're just going to
be not yet?
Okay.
We're building a protocol so that we can actually, we're an FDA registered facility. They come in and they expect us, USDA, FDA, what have you. What we want to be able to do is do things that most companies don't do, right? Most of the time they put you out there and kind of let you flap in the wind like a flag, and you get torn, you get beat up. We don't want that. We want you to be able to say things that are absolutely truthful, that absolutely work, right? My products have been around since 1991, not all of them, but the Colostrum has been around since 1991. If you had bought Colostrum back then from me, it is the same substance today as it was back in 1991, right? So many people change different things, and I understand why, marketing, right? We haven't had to do that. Most companies, when they look at, what's your backbone, they a lot of companies say, well, we have 20-25% constantly buy from us month in, month out. 65% of our people, and growing, not shrinking, growing, 65% come back to us month in, month out, right? I have folks that have been buying from me literally from September of 1991, right? Why? Because they feel it, right? You can't beat numbers. Numbers never lie. It's either 1 + 1 = 2, and if you're really good, 1 + 1 can equal 3 or 4, but it never equals 1 and it never equals 0. Products that work, right, for a lifetime, that's 1 + 1 that equals some number beyond 2, way beyond 2. That's what we have here.
So blessed, so blessed. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time today. Can you answer real quick? Does it matter how we store the colostrum? Does it need to be in a dark bag or a glass? Can it be stored in a glass jar? Does it need to go in the freezer, the fridge? Not sure how much time we have left, but hopefully you can answer this real quick.
You can put it in a glass jar. There's nothing that's going to be harmful to it. If you like it cold, put it in your fridge, right? I have colostrum that's in my food storage. It's seriously from 1991. And it's not degraded at all. So
awesome.
It's up to you what you want to do with it. I will tell you this: if your dogs can get to it, they will tear into even a glass jar to try to get that stuff.
Good point. Good point. Our pets love it. Well, thank you so much, Dr. K. This has been such a pleasure, and I appreciate all your answers and just your sincerity and your authenticity. And again, we're so blessed to have you, and we're so grateful. We're just so grateful for everything. So thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye.